It can be quite daunting when you hear the words from the pediatrician and, going through the assessment and that, and they go, yes, he is on the spectrum and, things will be difficult for him, whereas it can be quite easy for other kids, social sides of things and recognizing emotions and stuff. Some of the strategies we found out for using at home were things like our OT realizing that Ash was a visual learner. So for him, he doesn't quite process it if you just tell him something. So writing it down and showing him, and my stick figures are not the best when it comes to talking about people, but like visual cues for Ash to recognize, doing this first and then he can do this. So making sure we had like a whiteboard on our fridge and that, so he can either write what he wants on the board, so he can actually see, if he can't tell us, he can actually write or draw what he wants. So visual cues are very good for him. So we have whiteboards around the place, or when he was learning how to do sign language a bit, when he was first learning to talk, having the symbols up on the fridge so he could read, those sorts of things have been amazing to help make things easier at home. But you do definitely have to do it at home, because otherwise they're not going to realize that this helps them. So repetition is, I can't say it enough, but repetition is so amazing, especially with kids on the spectrum, because once they learn it once, it just sticks and it almost loops. So once they get into the habit of it, they always stick with it. They highly encourage bringing family members in. So I always have his siblings with me. If it's not one, it's quite a few, so it can be quite crowded. But Aris always turns around and goes, the more the merrier, and she doesn't just focus on Ash, it's, what can we do to help Ash, but, involve the siblings, which he... Oh, wow! Which is great, because they can chat to her about, what can they do to help, and she will explain to them, this is how his mind works, and, if you want to work with him, maybe we try this, or if Ash gets too emotional, they now know that, sometimes they need to take a few steps back for him to regulate himself a bit, and then he's quite happy for them to re-engage. Whereas when he was quite little, they would try and play with him, and it would bring him in sensory overload, because he didn't want anybody in his bubble, as we put it at home. Whereas now he's quite happy to have his brothers come in his bubble. But when it does get too much, they also understand his cues from learning from Aris, what Ashley's cues are when it gets too much, that sometimes they need to make a step back. Biggest advice would be, do not be afraid to vent any of your worries or anything to your therapists. Honestly, they are there to help you. So if you do have any questions, I flood my therapist with as many questions as possible. They're there to help. Another big thing would be, honestly, listen to what they say and make sure to implement it at home. I mean, Ash has a therapy session once a fortnight. There's only so much that your therapist can do, but if you do it at home, and don't just get your family members, but get aunts, uncles, friends, get all of them involved as well. The more that get involved, the easier it will be to implement what they recommend for you to do at home to help them at home. It honestly makes the world of difference, because not only do you learn how to adapt better for them, they also learn how to adapt in, the normal life with everybody else. Aris has been amazing with not only just with our family, but also talking with Ashton's school to try and help him as he's just started school this year, to try and help not just make it easier for him, but for the teachers how to learn about Ashy's ways, which has been amazing. And some therapists may not do that. Aris goes above and beyond. He finds it hard to concentrate on things. So having things like fidget toys or something quite small that he can play with helps him to focus. And you think if he's got fidgeting, he's not focusing, but it actually helps so much, because while they're doing something, their mind can focus and realign itself on the task at hand, because he is doing something. finding out what your child is passionate about. Ash has gone through many phases of things he's obsessed with. We've gone from the Trolls movie to movie themes where it's just the first 20 seconds of, 20th Century Fox, and that used to be on repeat for hours upon hours. But if he was starting to get upset, showing them something that they're really passionate about, and kids on the spectrum get hyper-focused almost and extremely passionate about this one thing, it could almost make them change from, the scenario if there's, this is something that makes me happy, those sorts of things can make a big difference, especially when they're not quite sure why they're upset. If it is a sensory meltdown, best thing to do is, I found especially when Ash has his, is to sit close by so he knows I'm there. I won't invade his space because he doesn't want anybody in his space. But I'm there when he is ready to engage me. So he knows that I don't understand why he is upset, but I do want him to know that I'm there when he is ready, and he'll come over once he's cried it all out and everything. He'll come over and then he'll give me a hug, and giving him a tight hug, because he likes the pressure, helps him. But when he used to have his sensory meltdowns, my first instinct was, go up and give him a hug, and that would just send him into meltdown mode even more. Whereas Aris taught me the keys, make sure that he knows you're there, and when he is ready and he understands that that he needs his moment, but you're there for him. Just them knowing that you're there can make the world of difference for them. So some of the difficulties we've had is learning what affects Ash and how it affects him. So when he goes outside, sunlight and that, too bright for him, he needs to have his sunglasses on. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Are you getting tired?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like right now.
Can I just do 2 more questions? Okay, thank you. Do you want to lay down on the trampoline? Okay. Do you want to lay on Mum? Okay. When we would go to the shopping centre, Ash would cry and get upset, and it made it really, really difficult. So we had to learn why. So we had to actually stop and recognise that, the fluorescent lights would make him feel like he had a headache. So sunglasses inside made the world a difference. He liked to sit in the trolley, but a lot of the different sounds and the different things that he could see, and he'd get really excited. So we learnt headphones. We call it his earphones, but he didn't like it being quiet. So we have earphones that play his favourite music. So seeing him in the shopping centre, you'll see him sitting in his trolley and he's quite content. He'll have his music blaring in his ears, he'll have his sunglasses on, and he's quite happy to go shopping for ages. Aris is amazing when it comes to working out how best to support your child. Not only just your child who has the special needs and needs to learn, different, ways for day life, but also to help the parents, to help family members. She's amazing where she says, bring your children along, so we can help them as well. So it's not just focusing on Ash, it's more the family and how we can work as a family to make it more peaceful and less stressful, and working out that it's not, special needs, it's more how can we help everybody's needs to make it more special in the family.